Hello and welcome to The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. In a breather for farmers across the country ahead of the onset of Rabi season, Economic Affairs Secretary Shantikanta Das today announced that farmers can withdraw up to 25,000 rupees per week from the payment that they receive for agriculture produce in the form of a cheque or RTGS. Further, the government has decided to increase the time limit for payment of crop insurance premium to 15 days. The Finance Ministry will also allow registered traders at mandis to withdraw up to 50,000 rupees per week to meet labour costs. These are some of the steps that have been taken by the government to ease the problems faced by farmers. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will debate how will the government tackle the crisis due to demonetization in the rural economy, and also how can it ensure seamless trade of farm produce? Joining me on the program today are Yatish Rajawat, senior journalist, Ravi Srivastava, economist and professor at JNU, Tom Vadakkan, spokesperson of the Congress, Syed Zafar representing the BJP, and also joining me on the phone line today will be Vijoo Krishnan, Joint Secretary, All India Kisan Sabha. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on The Big Picture today. Ravi Srivastava, I'd like to start with you, of course. These are some of the measures that have been announced by the government today. You know, Shantikanta Das coming out and talking about these steps being taken to help out the farmers and also people living in rural areas. Do you believe that these steps are adequate, enough, at least for the time being?
Well, I'm coming to Rajawat TV for the first time after the passing away of Mr. Girish Nikam. So if you permit me, I'd like to begin by paying condolences to
please do.
His family as well as to the TV channel. He will be sorely missed on this channel because he's, he left his intellect left a deep mark on the big debate and other shows from time to time. The demonetization has, in my view, affected the rural economy and the farming economy very, very deeply. Both because this is the busiest agricultural season of the year, when simultaneously many things are happening. Farmers are taking their produce to the market, they are plowing their lands, they are trying to buy seeds, so sowing season is on, they would be needing fertilizers, they need water. For any single month, this month is a period where the farmers require the maximum amount of linkage with the economy, either as sellers or as buyers. And from what I have been able to, I've been talking to a large number of farmers, there is deep trouble in the sense that they are not being able to sell. They're taking the produce to the mandis. The buyers are not either buying them or buying them on credit, or they're having to sell at distressed prices. They don't have the cash to purchase fertilizers. They will not be able to do it by check. So there is a deep crisis in the overall rotation of money. And one has to understand that one cannot change payment habits overnight from what is primarily a cash economy to what is a plastic economy. So the kind of measures that Mr. Das has taken today are, in my view, grossly inadequate to deal with the kind of crisis that we are seeing in the farming economy, in the rural economy. Much more needs to be done. Simply, cash liquidity needs to be injected in the rural economy and the farming economy.
Okay. Syed Zafar, much more needs to be done. What is being done at the moment is not enough, and it's a step that is taken too late. You should have planned all this out beforehand, and it should have been done, when the demonetization was announced.
Well, you must understand that it's a momentous decision. It's not an ordinary decision like you could take any single day. This decision needed a very strong political will, and this has been taken by the Honorable Prime Minister, taking into account that some inconvenience will definitely happen to every citizen of this country, be it a poor man, be it a rich man, but everybody is going to go through some inconvenience, and it is the responsibility of the government to review all the inconvenience the ordinary citizen or the trading community or the farmers, any section of the society, whatever inconvenience they are facing. It is being reviewed by the government on a regular basis, and whatever appropriate measures are to be taken are being taken by the government on a regular basis. I must add that every citizen of this country must support this, because it is not going to happen time and again. It's one-time decision which Government of India has taken with a view very clearly that the common man is going to benefit from this decision, and despite going through pain, what the common man is going through, everybody is supporting this decision. I have personally visited many places, and the kind of response where I'm getting, despite people standing in the queue, they know that this is being done for their benefit. It is in the national interest. It is for the interest of the common citizen of this country, and it was very much needed. And they know that they have been waiting in this kind of queue earlier during UPA and Congress regime for even kerosene oil, for gas connection, for many things. And it's not the first time the people of India is facing this kind of a situation where they have to stand in the queue for something. But slowly, as the measures are being taken, slowly, the things are getting normalized. And I'm sure that given the stability is slowly taking place, and the full stability will happen for sure in next 7 to 8 days.
Indeed. All right. Support is one thing. Of course, there are several people who are supporting this move. When it was announced on November 8th, we saw a sense of euphoria, and we saw people coming out into the streets and saying that it is a fantastic move and this should be done. This is just one of the steps that probably will bring back black money. But let's concentrate on the farmers and people living in rural India. Now, this particular move has certainly hurt them. I mean, there's no two ways about that. There's no two questions about that. Do you believe that these steps that have been announced are adequate? Do you believe that a lot more needs to be done?
So the steps that has been announced till now are inadequate per se, because it doesn't address the basic problem, which is the availability of banking system in the rural area. And the banking system in rural area, as you know, is three-tiered, so to say. There is a branch, there is a ATM, and there is a business correspondent. And the business correspondent, and of course there is the third layer, which has been kept out of the system, which is the cooperative banks. As you know that cooperative banks have not been involved and has been prohibited from accepting the old currency or being given new notes. Now the rationale was that the cooperative banking system, which is much more deeply networked into the rural area, cannot be monitored properly. Therefore, it will lead to further more problems, and it might aid black money conversion itself, because a lot of cooperative banks are, at least the management is controlled by politicians in that respective area. Now, the issue is that the banking system in the last 8-9 years has, gone through two different transitions. One is they went the ATM route. They said ATMs is the great thing. We all need to expand ATMs. Now, ATMs are very few in the rural area. Most ATMs are concentrated in the urban areas. So the second route they went was, in the last 4 years, was digitization. Now, digitization again assumed that the person will never come to the branch. So what has happened is that the branches have not been expanded. The branch personals have not been recruited in numbers that they used to be recruited 10 years, 12 years back, resulting that in the rural branches, there are very few people per se. Some branches do not remain open for the whole week or even for 5 days in a week. Some branches are transitory branches. They've been open to meet requirements of Jan Dhan and others. The system is, and the network is not adequate to meet any cash requirement of the rural population per se. So the government has to extend the time period for depositing of these checks. It has to go beyond the 24th November that has been announced, especially for the rural areas. Then they will have to distinguish between a rural branch and an urban branch, because somewhere down the line, when they extend the time period, the rural branch which will be given the advantage of taking these notes, and the urban branches would have completed the task by then. So this has to go beyond November 24th, and it has to be extended at least for a period of a month or so.
Okay. Fair enough. We are joined by Vijoo, Krishnan, Joint Secretary, All India Kisan Sabha, also on the phone line. I just want to get an understanding from him as to what the situation on the ground really is as far as the farmer is concerned.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I am in the rural areas now. I have been traveling with the Kisan Jatha. I have travelled, the day this decision was announced, I was in Anantapur, the drought hit area of Andhra Pradesh, and I have travelled from Anantapur through Andhra to Telangana, and now I am in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. In every village that we have stopped, we have found huge winding queues and farmers who have already had their harvest and received the money, finding it difficult to convert the money into hundreds or whatever tenable currency is there. So they are unable to buy anything new, for any inputs for the next season. And this, the Narendra Modi government actually has gifted a very bitter harvest to the farmers. They are, in Nirmal district in Telangana, I found the farmers who are for the last 6 days going daily to the bank and returning back. Just in front of me, there were instances where people were going back without any money. The cash was over. ATMs, most of the places, cash is over. So this is the situation. And we visited also the mandis. In the mandis, especially the perishable vegetables are rotting. People are not buying it. And we also find there are some of the traders are also making use of this opportunity. And if farmers are wanting to take in 100 rupee notes, then for cotton, for instance, 4,500 rupees a quintal. And if you are willing to accept 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees, then 5,000 rupees a quintal. But the problem is the farmers are unable to exchange it in the banks. This is a season when your harvest is done, you have to invest in the next season.
Indeed.
And the government is clueless of the kind of crisis it has created. It is an extreme crisis. There is a shortage of food grains in poorer families. Those who have already worked on farms are and received some wages, or many places they are not even receiving wages. This is a situation in this entire stretch. And Mr. Modi, who has been traveling across the country, I think he should come and listen to what the people's opinion about his policy is. How much anger in the rural areas about his policy. I think they should make an assessment of that on the ground.
Indeed. All right.
Repeat, the prices of soybean has fallen. The prices of different crops, it is falling because there is no buyer.
Okay.
And
Vijoo Krishna, stay with us. Stay with us. I'll come back to you for another reaction.
They have to sell.
I'll stay with us. I'll come back to you for another reaction. Tom Vadakkan, we've debated about demonetization over the last 10 days. Every news channel, every newspaper is only talking about this. Every Indian is talking about this. Let's not talk about whether, even the parliament has debated it. Let's not talk about whether demonetization should have happened or not. Let's talk about solutions now. Can you give some, concrete solutions to the government? What should the government do in the present scenario?
Mr. Pereira, it's nice of you to talk that we'll sidestep the problem. But 30 people are already dead and we are counting. I mean, they've been said they have had heart attacks. There's some people who have hung themselves. A baby in Mahim the other day went for treatment to a hospital. The doctors did accept the money. The point is, you can't wish away reality. Today, urban centers are upset. You're seeing Delhi. To reach your office on a normal day, it takes me 20 minutes. It took me 1.5 hours, and not because of traffic jams. In that per se, it was basically outside banks and huge queues. I really don't understand what is happening in the city like Delhi, which is well connected. ATMs, no money. Banks, no money. Huge queues. Now, point is, this is Delhi, the national capital of India, down interior. Now, I come from South India. He did mention, our panelists did mention about cooperative banks. Now, cooperative banks are the only connect with rural India. For last 7 days in Kerala, these banks are closed. Money, people's own money deposited in those banks are not available. Now, what are the reasons? And there's no facility for exchange. When you close a bank, there's no possibility. It is a very dangerous situation that is emerging across the country. People sitting in Delhi, I'm not going into a political, because I'm expected to speak on political terms. I just want to tell Mr. Islam, the reality down at ground zero is terrible, Mr. Islam. You're a banker yourself. You know, if you have to go 50 kilometers to a bank, you will charge us that the bank should have been opened. Everything is given to the Congress that you should have done this. But we did not remove 86% of currency from the country. You have created, this should be planned out. Prime Minister says it was planned 7 months back. But what kind of planning is this? Planning where you don't have currency. Now the secretary says From 4,500 exchange, he's going down to 2,000. What is it clearly indicating? That there's no currency. I mean, what was the harm in printing adequate currency? At least 100, okay, you didn't want to give a hint. It's another debate, another day's debate, whether somebody had information or not. But 100 rupees should be available. That should have been, there wouldn't be no doubts if we have printed. But application of mind is at zero level here. And every day the secretary comes, makes some announcement which is not compatible. He has no ground check. He doesn't know what's happening in rural India. Making headlines, grabbing headlines, saying that for marriages this is being... Now what are you going to set loose? That you take a marriage invite and say that you need this money. What stops black marketers not all going and printing marriage invitations, an affidavit? These have to be thought out. You're going in what you call a master stroke or what you call a surgical operation. If the surgeon is a quack, I'm not naming anybody. This is about the system. If you have a surgeon as a quack, then there is a serious situation.
Okay.
30, 40 people dead.
Let him respond. Let him respond to what you're saying. Syed, Zafar, respond to what Tom Vadakkan is saying.
I think he was talking about master stroke. We never said master stroke, but it is the opinion of the people of this country who are saying that it was a master stroke, and who are cribbing about it. It's some of the irresponsible political parties, because their interests have been compromised. They were the one who have actually done a lot of corruption. They know that this decision has really impacted them, and that's why they are vehemently opposing it.
You know, I'll tell you what, Syed Zafar, I'll tell you what. Forget about the politics of it.
Our government is not denying that.
Hold on.
Be it farmer, be it trader, be it a common citizen of this country.
Let him complete.
Everyone is going through the problem, but it is temporary. Our drive to curb black money, our drive to work against corruption is a permanent, and we are not going to stop here. We are going to hunt all the tax evaders. We are going to hunt people who have actually siphoned black money from the system, and ensure that those come back to our system and the common citizen of this country gets benefit out of it.
Fair enough.
But let me remind you, these political parties, be it Congress, be it Mamata, see their credentials, their track record. They are exaggerating. I have seen tons of videos, many videos, where people are actually supporting it. Not only supporting it, they are actually shouting slogans in favor of the Honorable Prime Minister, and criticizing the corrupt UPA government and all the Congress government, which actually is responsible for what they are going through these days. Yes. There is some problem.
Hold on.
I will anticipate that they'll have to go through some difficulties. But this is not going to. This is not permanent.
I want to get. Let's not politicize the debate.
But let me add,
Mr. Vadakkan. Mr. Vadakkan. No. Let's not politicize the debate. Syed Zafar, let's not politicize the debate. You know what? Tom Vadakkan and Syed Zafar, hold on to your horses. Let me bring in the other panelists into the picture as well. Let's not politicize the issue, Ravi Srivastava. Let's talk about the impact that it's going to have really on rural India. This demonetization, what kind of an impact really, how badly is it going to affect rural India and the farmers today? What's going to be the impact on the rural economy?
Look, the cash flow has at the moment been completely disrupted from every end. The producers are not being able to sell. Producers are not being able to buy inputs. Those who have to buy, whether it's in the mandis or the traders, are either playing games or not buying or only willing to give credit. So there's a huge, this whole circuit of cash flow has been disrupted in the rural economy at a time when it is needed the most. There's a single, as I said initially, this is the month where every activity, harvesting, selling, buying, sowing, use of fertilizer, irrigation, plowing, every activity happens during the course of this month. There's a lot of requirement of cash. To imagine that by issuing checks or by saying that the farmers should use RTGS or that the wholesalers in the mandi should use RTGS, this problem will be solved. I'm afraid this is some fiction. This is not the real world that you and I live in. And I suspect that Mr. Das, I'm sure, has enough experience as a Secretary of Finance. He has grown up the ladder. He has been a field officer to realize that the solutions that he is offering are completely unworkable.
Why were these solutions offered then?
So my own, because every solution offers is in a sense a rollback perhaps is too strong a word, but the government foresees other implications of this. And in my view, the only implication, the only thing that is worthwhile considering is how can you infuse, having taken a step which has seriously disrupted the small producer economy, consumers, the whole, the cycle of wage labor and employment, how soon can you restore normalcy? Now, two things have happened. One, there is now a fear psychosis in the rural economy, and this has unfortunately happened because the finance minister first made a statement after his meeting with the RBI saying that the ATMs will start functioning in 3 weeks. So he basically talked about a 3-week period and there would be some normalcy will be there. The Prime Minister then made a speech saying it will take 50 days. He said, please bear with me for 50 days. The Home Minister then went and made a speech in which he said things will be normal within the few months period. So basically what has happened is the farmers now in the rural areas are worried sick because they cannot wait for normalcy to be restored for a few months without disrupting the farm economy completely. And in my view, if a practical solution has to be formed, I completely agree with everyone that we need to target the black economy. It doesn't matter how much of the black economy is in cash and how much of it remains in cash after 7 days after the kind of transactions that we have been seeing. In my view, all these objectives could have been achieved without withdrawing 86% of the cash, but demonetizing the 1,000 currency note. Even today, the only way liquidity can be achieved immediately is by actually having a partial rollback, allowing the 500 currency notes to be legal tender for some time and demonetizing the 1,000 currency. Take out 40% of the money in circulation, in which we can expect the large hoardings of black money, wherever they are, if they are still there, to be stored in.
Okay, fair enough. Yatish, you wanted to respond and also respond to what Ravi Srivastava is saying about, do you see a rollback of some sort?
I don't see a rollback. I don't see that this government would consider a rollback, seeing how far ahead they've gone into the discourse per se. But there are certain solutions that could still be implemented, and I agree with Mr. Srivastava that the disruption is quite severe in that sense. It is not only to the producer, but it is also to the market system. And the market system, we should also understand, the mandis have been traditionally the source of black money because all the trade there happened by avoiding taxation. If you look at a normal Arthia or the lender there, he exists because he is not part of the taxation system or the banking system. Because he is not part of the banking system, his trade was done in cash and there was no accounting till date. And his storage was also...
But he does pay a tax on the trade that is carried out.
No,
the mandi tax
no.
is
The
there.
Arthia,
And
if you look at the Arthia, the Arthia is the traditional state, and he is also the traditional money lender. He owns several forms of it, and he is the largest hoarder of cash in the rural economy. Now, they are affected in the larger sense, but the smaller farmer and the smaller labor is also affected. What they need to do is they will have to somewhere down the line activate the system in such a manner that the central forces work with the postal department and the business correspondent on a war footing over the next 21 to 30 days to make sure that liquidity reaches the villages. Till now, whatever we have seen in terms of effort has been in terms of assuaging the burns of the political parties in urban areas. We've been talking about, more ATMs, more managers going to the bank. But the same thing needs to be done at a much wider and bigger level in the rural areas. Now,
but do we have the infrastructure to do that? That's the question.
So that there are 2 or 3 infrastructure which is lying there, which has not been used in the past. One is the cooperative bank infrastructure. Now, the fear is that the cooperative banks are controlled by the politicians and therefore they are sources and conduits of black money per se. So, the idea is that you use the infrastructure and you send your own central government employees to carry out the transactions. So, the transactions are fair. Because the fear was that the transaction...
with shortage of central government employees, in several of the departments.
But, you have elections and how do we deploy multiple number of employees at election time?
No,
so think of it as...
It could be a solution, but is it a viable solution?
No, if you agree with the fact that it's an emergency situation, then you need to think differently. And which is what I find a little lacking in the bureaucratic system. I don't think so they've got their arms around the fact that the situation is of emergency nature.
I've got 2 minutes on the program. I'd like to get Tom Vadakkan and Syed Zafar's views as well, with final comments from you. Mr. Vadakkan, final comments. Are you willing to work with the government and come up with some solutions? Are you willing to, wear your negotiating hat and talk to the government about this problem?
See, while we made it very candidly clear, we are supportive of the system of trying to target black money. That's absolutely accepted, but the methodology. But they must sit with somebody, On 8th, you declare something on a high table. You go to the nation and say the money in your pocket is all paper. Then after that you stand and even not ready for a discussion in Parliament. Look at the state of Parliament. All that they are asking across the party, forget the Congress party, is Prime Minister, please do come to Parliament, hear us out. If he is not ready to hear to members of Parliament, what are smaller mortals? I think the idea is to listen, understand the problem. If you're not ready to listen to the problem, there's no solutions. Solution comes when you talk to people. It's not dialogue alone. What is happening is it's monologue. You're hearing every day from them. The finance minister comes, the secretary comes, and they're not listening to people. Even in the press conference,
I'm out of time.
No, let me complete it.
Yeah.
Even in the press conferences, the questions that the secretary takes is all limited and is a fixed match. I'm sorry to say this, but that's a reality.
Okay. Syed Zafar, are you willing to listen to the opposition, take in some of the solutions and come up with some better planning and some, to help out the people?
See, we have very clearly stated, our government has stated that we are willing to discuss, debate with the opposition parties. We are open to that. We have never said that we are not willing to debate or discuss with the opposition parties. We are engaging everyone. We are listening to everyone. As far as the ideas are concerned, they are free to give ideas to the government. That's their responsibility. They must do. But they are more interested in criticizing the government rather than giving any suggestion, if at all they have the suggestion. Because if you see the way they are behaving as if somebody has really made them suffer, and that is the reason they are criticizing rather and taking somehow side of the common citizen, but even though common citizen are very happily standing in the queue. Secondly, as far as the
very quickly because I've run out of time.
Economist and the panel, I must tell you that it is being reviewed on a daily basis, and whatever measures needed to be taken and needs to be taken will be taken in the interest of the common citizen of the country, in the interest of the farming community, in the interest of the rural population of this country. But we will take action and to ensure that their interests have never been compromised, and their interests will be always safeguarded.
I'll have to cut this short there and wrap the program because I've run out of time. Work in progress. As and when these problems come up, we'll take care of them and deal with them then. That's what you're saying. Thank you so much, Yatish, Rajawat, Ravi, Srivastava, Tom Vadakkan, Syed Zafar and Vijoo, Krishnan for joining me on the program. That's all the time we have on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next time.